Well, I had my bike when I seen it, but I come back here. I got my trailer. I raced back up there. I put it on my trailer, tied it all down, brought it back here. That was my bed. I had the best bed in the camp.
I have had the gift, especially over the last months with COVID, to spend more time with some of my friends that live in poverty. They're on OW, they're on ODSP, and we've had long hours to just talk and get to know each other more. And I got to listen, and I wanted everybody to hear their stories.
There were 7 kids in my family. Mom and dad, did their best. Always made sure we had food. If something happened with our housing, dad always made sure that we had housing somewhere else. It didn't matter if it was in a motel room or, we had a tent or a trailer. As long as we were together and we were warm and dry, that's all that mattered to us. It's her job to take care of me as I'm growing up, and after I grew up, then it was my job to take care of her. And that's, that should be every kid's job. It doesn't matter where you live or where you are. That's your mom and dad. You gotta take care of them. The job of the oldest boy is to protect them up. When they split up, she started dating these guys. Some of these guys were, kind of rough with her. So it was my job to step in. Dad wasn't, there was nobody else there. None of the other boys would step up and do the job. So it was my job. Mom ended up meeting this guy in a little town just north of Aurelia called Cumberland Beach. He was a truck driver, alcoholic, real ruffian. And she called me and told me that she, didn't like the way he was treating her. So I told her that when he went on his next trip, because he did stateside runs, he was gone for a week at a time. I said, when he's gone, pack your stuff. When you get your stuff packed, you call me and I'll come and get you. And she did. She called me, and I was at her door 2 hours later. Packed her stuff up in the trailer in the van. She stayed with us till the end of the month, and then we got her a place in North Bay, and that's where she stayed. She met a guy named Jerry. He made her very, very happy. I never had to worry about protecting her from him. She was 52 years old when she passed away. She passed away in North Bay at a little restaurant called the Bay Truck Stop. It was a Wednesday, February the 3rd, 1998. I didn't get the message until 11 o'clock that she passed away. And I got the message from Jerry himself. He was there. I guess I can say, thank God that she wasn't by herself when it happened. She was with somebody that cared. I loved her. The hardest thing that we ever went through was July 22nd, 1980. My brother, he drowned in Wishago. A bike ride, I was like 15 minutes away from him. Car ride, 5 minutes away from him. He was my little buddy. And to this day, I still wish I was there. Because here again, he was the youngest of the family. He hung with me. I was his mentor. I was his protector. And I wasn't there. I was in a foster home. I think that's the hardest thing for my family. And it was the real hard thing for me. And it still is. Yeah, I've been diagnosed by a doctor and a psychiatrist as having explosive temper disorder, a manic depressive, and just antisocialism. And yeah, I contribute that to, you know, my brother passing away. I became quiet, didn't want to socialize with anybody. Uh, you know, Somebody did something to me. First thing I wanted to do was hit. With the depression, didn't want to go out. Because you're always depressed. You're always frowning. So yeah, I think that's when my brother passing away. That's where it first started to set in. First time I ever got in trouble with the law, I was 5 years old. I got caught stealing a chocolate bar out of the shopping store. They were always open at 7 o'clock in the morning. But I got caught stealing a chocolate bar from there. The manager called the police. Policeman, the manager wanted me charged. The cop said they couldn't charge me because I was too young. He got me home, asked my dad if I belonged to him. My dad said, yeah. Asked what happened. Police officer told my dad that I got caught stealing a chocolate bar out of the Metropolitan store. And my dad right away started yelling, arrest him, charge him. And the police officer kept saying, Mr. Pike, I can't. And my dad's going, yes, you can. He broke the law. You can charge him. And the officer said again, no, I can't, Mr. Pike. My dad goes, why? Because he's only 5 years old and I can't do anything until he's 12. And I'm still sitting in the back of the cop car. And as soon as that cop said that, the light went on in my head, the little bell went off, and I thought, well, cool. I got 7 years to be a hellion. And yes, I was a hellion. I would steal, I would hit people, I would do whatever I could think of. Up until I was 12. And, I should have been smart and slowed down or stopped then, but I didn't. I got a few charges for shoplifting at the age of 12 or 13 or whatever. 15, I was in a group home, and I got caught in a stolen car. I didn't know it was stolen. I didn't. But the police were going to charge me for, I think they said it was joyriding. And then they turned around and decided, to drop the charges. They weren't going to let me go. But I did spend I think it was a week in Morton House. From there, I went to another, I guess you could say it was a group home. It was a group home for kids with behavior problems. It was called Browndale. They still have one here in Newmarket, but they now call it Kinard. I was 15. And that's when ODSP contacted my dad and told me I had to come home because if I didn't, they were going to deduct me from his check. So Dad and Mom came and got me. I was given a choice. If I wanted to go home, I could go home. If I didn't, I could stay there until I was 18, or 16, 16, if I stayed there until I was 16, then they could still look and see if they could get me in a foster home. If they couldn't, then I could stay until I was 18. But I'd have to pay rent. But I went with this. I went with what Dad wanted. And I went home. And, now that I'm 52 years old, I sit and I think, if I would have did things differently, things probably would have worked out different for me because in high school, I was on the wrestling team. And I was good at it. My coach said that, as long as I kept training and everything else, that when I graduated from high school, I had a good chance of getting a wrestling scholarship. But when Mom and Dad came in and told me they wanted to take me home, I decided that, no, I want to go home. I want to go home with my Mom and Dad. That's my family. My mom and dad used to have a friend, and I'd stay up late with them, and I'd sit and I'd drink. But it was basically homegrown. And I ended up hanging out with my Uncle Dan, my buddy, mentor. Uh, I ended up with him, and I ended up smoking weed with him, buying it from him. I was 18, and I just turned the legal age to drink, and I got myself into some trouble over that. Uh, I ended up pulling a knife on a guy and got charged for assault with a deadly weapon. Uh, uh, Went to court, got 30 days in jail for that. Didn't learn my lesson because I got out, started drinking again. One of my buddies on New Year was at mom's house on New Year's. Drinking, left my mom's house at New Year's, went to a buddy's on the way to my buddy's place to drink some more. My buddies decided they're going to start kicking taillights. Got arrested again, breached probation. Uh, Back to court, back to jail for 60 days. Got out. I've been out since. I'm kind of proud of that. And well, I owe that to my Uncle Dan too. He used to always preach to me about not going to jail. Yeah, like where I went was nothing. Where he was, there were federal penitentiaries. Yeah, he seen people get beat up, stabbed, killed, the whole bit. Uh, but I got a grade 8. Probably if I would have continued going I would have stayed in Barrie and it's still secondary. I probably would have left there with my grade 12. But like I said, probably. But I went with the heart and threw everything away. My first job that I ever had, I was a dishwasher at a Chinese food joint. Probably maybe 3 months. And then my next job after that, jobs after that were construction work. And then it turned around and led up to where at the age of 16, I ended up working with a carnival. I was gone for about 2 weeks. I called my mom. My mom told me I had to come home because there was a warrant for my arrest because I missed a court date because I was supposed to go to court. I grabbed the next bus back home, stood up, for what I did, got probation. My probation officer said I couldn't travel, so I waited till I'd done my probation. And after that, I took off and I worked for carnivals all across Ontario until I was like 32. And then I had to stop doing it because my back wouldn't handle it because before I turned 32, I had an accident. I fell off a 30-foot tower and landed on my back. So I couldn't do I can't do any heavy lifting anymore. So I had to stop doing it. But believe me, if I could still do it, I'd be back out there. I've been on ODSP since I was 25. I got put on it just after my daughter was born. That's how I remember. Because I had a fit in the hospital. Jill was supposed to be discharged at 8 o'clock in the morning. I was there at 7. I sat there from 7 o'clock in the morning till 5 o'clock in the afternoon listening to this nurse go, "He'll be here in 15 minutes, he'll be here in 15 minutes, he'll be here in 15 minutes. Dr. Schemmel came up. He wasn't happy. And dragged me downstairs. And took me to the emergency area. He showed me one guy, he'd sprained his ankle. That big deal. He showed me another guy that was in his 90s that was having problems breathing. I thought, yeah, okay, he's 90 years old. He's lived, okay, so if he dies, he dies. That was my attitude at the time. Then he took me into another room where there was a 4-year-old boy that ate peanut butter and blew up like a balloon. and that's when it hit me. Like, what are you doing? Your doctor's down here taking care of a kid that just ate peanut butter and could die, and you're upstairs whining, complaining because you can't take yours home. It's a good thing it did happen because I got diagnosed and I found out what's wrong, and I've been able to do things about it. I get 1,100. Well, right now because of the COVID, I'm now getting $1,269. Without the COVID, I get 1,169. Every year around November, they give us a 1% raise. Getting that much money, it's rough. It is. You gotta budget, you gotta buy in bulk for the month. By the time you get done that, you got no money to do anything for pleasure. You want to do anything for pleasure, you got to scrape and you got to save. Because things are not so much food and stuff, but rent. It's too expensive. Come up with some other things so that it makes it look like we're contributing, and we're getting the money that we should be getting as if we were working. Because right now we're not getting that. We make less than what a person does in working at McDonald's. If somebody came up and told me, why do you need to make the same money as I do, and you're on ODSP and you sit at home and do nothing? No. You think so? You think some of us just sit at home and we do nothing? No. It's wrong with my whole story. I told you have been volunteering. It's not that I'm not able to work. I'd like to work, but some people got to understand. Just because somebody's on a disability pension doesn't mean that they're lazy or anything. It could be because they got a physical injury and they can't work. Like my dad, he had two slip discs in his back because he suffered an injury at the work placement. So he's not able to work anymore. So they show him on a disability pension. So he's still able to take care of his family. Me, I'd like to do the same thing, but I'm just not able to because I have an anger problem and it gets in the way. So some of these people that are out there looking and going, and saying, why do you deserve this? Well, like I said, nobody deserves anything. Where I am right now, I pay $5. When I lived here in Bradford, I was paying anywhere between $5 to $7 for a room. And that's not even in a rooming house. That's in somebody's house that's actually technically subletting you the room. You're paying $700 a month from 1,100. That doesn't leave you much to be able to, if you got internet, you got a telephone, you got cable, you got to decide what comes first. I pay my cable bill or do I go buy food? And it always ends up being the food, or clothing, or, an essential. So, you end up with, if you don't pay your bill, well, then you end up with a cable bill, then you end up with a problem with the cable company. And then you end up in the credit bureau. When I first moved to Bradford, I didn't know many of the resources that were offered in Bradford. But after I found out, what resources that they had for low-income people, I used them quite frequently. Food bank was always number one. They'd give me 30 points. So I used 15 points every 2 weeks. Then I found out that that they had a community meal. So that alleviated some pressure off of a couple of meals every month because it was always on a Friday. So, that was my dine out time. I didn't have to cook. I didn't have to spend any money at a restaurant or anything. Yeah. I'd be able to go have my dinner, sit with some people, good people, have fun. Then I found out about the clothing room, and I started using it, and became a regular there. And after a while, I became a volunteer. Volunteering here at the clothing room, helping other people, low income people, find stuff that they could, that they needed, or if they couldn't find it, then I'd find a substitute for them. Where I was living here in Bradford on Walker Ave, my buddy Joe told me I had to move because his daughter wanted the basement. I ran into a few places where I rented rooms or sublet because of the subletting law. If if there's a problem with the landlord, the police would come and evict you immediately. So from there you get evicted immediately. You got no place to go. So you end up going to the Blue Door shelter. I ended up there. Went through the process of doing what I was supposed to do, finding a place. I found a place, but in the middle of me finding a place, some guys started picking on me in the dining room. And one of the staff came out and didn't really do anything about it. So I got mad and went to my room, got my cigarettes, and I went to go out the door, and I slammed the front door. And the one staff yelled at me, and I said something to her that I should not have said. I went out, had my cigarette, came back in, and apologized. They were going to kick me out immediately, but because I had a place, they let me stay. The place that I found out that it wasn't supposed to be rented, that it was a building that had been condemned by the city. So I was asked to leave. So I went back up to the Blue Door shelter to see if I could get back in. And that's when they informed me that I was kicked out for 2 months, till August 24th. So I had no other place to go except for go get my tent and go set up with the rest of the gang that was set down in this ravine that wasn't too far from the Blue Door shelter. I stayed there from then until it was only supposed to be till August 24th, and then I was going to try to get back in. I did try to get back in, but they kept telling me that they were full. I was down there until the middle of January, I think it was. And then that's when I packed up everything and I went down to my buddy's storage yard where he has my old trailer that I sold him. And I stayed in it for a couple of weeks, but it was too cold. So from there, I went back in the Newmarket and went to the In From the Cold program and stayed there for a couple of days, and then finally got back into the Blue Door. Water. We were allowed we had water bottles. So we'd go up to the Blue Door shelter, we'd use the outside tap, and we'd fill up like 7, 8, maybe 10 bottles of water, and we'd bring it down and have it sit down there. And then once it was gone, we'd go back up and do it again. Food, due to the fact that the Ontario government put in place that ODSP and OW cannot leave you without any money, they have to give you your basic needs. I'd use my basic needs to buy food and whatever else. That is 600 and something, because I think it's $490 something for rent. So it was enough to be able to do all right, but you couldn't do comfortably. But I used the basic needs that they would give me to buy food. If at the time I needed any shampoo, I'd grab shampoo. Soap. Whatever I needed to keep myself clean. As far as my phone, I'd get up every morning and I'd go sit at McDonald's, and I would buy a coffee. And the rule is, as long as you are a customer, you can sit there as long as you want. So I bought a coffee, and they have refills. So I sit there all day and drink coffee all day, and I charge my laptop, I would charge my booster pack, I'd charge my phone, any electronics I would charge. Uh, uh, just so that we had some sort of entertainment down there, because I had my laptop. I'd also sit up there, and I found a workaround thing to be able to get around. There's uh, uh, block protocols, so you can't download movies. Okay, and I would download a couple of movies, so that when I got back to the campsite, we had movies to watch, because I had enough batteries to be able to watch at least 2 movies, and then we'd go to bed, and I'd get up and do it all over again. If you had laundry that needed to be done, you could go over to 510 Penrose and get it done there. If you're in the winter, if you're there from the cold, then you could get your laundry done there. If you weren't a client, then you couldn't do it. So I would have to use some of my basic needs money to go do my laundry. They have the donation bins spread out across town, and they're only supposed to be for clothing. They're not supposed to be for any beds or electronics. So I would go there, and I would go and see what kind of electronics there was. I found a laptop, and the only problem that was with it is it's got four little black dots on it. That's it. I grabbed it. That laptop today, I still have it. Found lots of DVDs. I started out with 5 DVDs when I first went in the bush. When I came out of the bush, I had 175 movies. We needed something for entertainment. Other than me always having to download movies. I was the entertainment guy. I had to take care of that stuff. So anything else, when you're homeless, anything else, you're pretty much on your own. I've even sat out in front of stores and panhandled, just so I get a little bit of money to be able to go have a coffee, or to buy myself a pack of cigarettes, because I had no money and I was dying for a cigarette. When you're homeless, it just depends on what you're willing to do. Legally, not illegal, legally. That's what the thing I remember from just my little stint. I know there's people out there that have been doing it 5, 6, 7, 10 years. They're good people. They're just having a hard time. Good future for me. I'd like to actually see my temper just instead of what am I doing? Or you can walk up and you can steal my phone, and even though I know you took it, I can just shrug my shoulders and say, "Oh well, you need it more than I did," instead of getting mad about it. And it looks like it's getting that way. It's been 6 months since I've had a vote. If this video helps, and even after I'm got 10 toes sticking up, and it helps getting some of these people off the street, then it's worth it.